go, chat. Here we are. Welcome to the DeFi Recode, episode 7. We've got Scoopy Trooples from Alchemix Finance here. I'm really excited for this one. This is my favorite DeFi protocol that I've been using so far. And normally I would ask Scoopy to introduce himself a little bit, ask him some questions about his history, how he got into cryptocurrency, but he is an anonymous developer, and that's something I find very interesting. I've struggled with it myself recently, whether to be anonymous or not, as things grow. So I'll let him kind of introduce himself and why anonymous, why people should think about anonymous at first.
Yeah, so I'm Scoopy Trooples, co-founder of Alchemix, and we got started with Alchemix. It was back in June of 2020 is when the idea came. We got the idea for it, and we started building it. I was approached by my friend, who I met a while back in another crypto Discord, and we were both anons, and we also had a few other friends that we had from some Discords back in the day that all joined the Alchemix team, and we got added a couple other people since then. Hold on, there's some weird echo that's like really screwing up with my train of thought going on. I think our audio settings are a bit off.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'll try to get through it, and maybe it'll clear up on its own.
Yeah, let me check on my end.
So yeah, the all of our team, we kind of most of us assembled, had the full team assembled by September, and we were plugging away. And eventually we landed on Alchemix. I think like the reason we chose to go on is that like in crypto, like you know, you have all of your private keys like at your own house. It's not like you have like a all your money sitting in a bank in like a vault or like some server of a bank or something like that. And I'm always concerned and worried about like some stranger or some criminal coming, or somebody who's looking for me, because they know I'm have a decent amount of crypto and things like that. And they say, oh, this person, I've got their docs, they live here, and I can go and try to take their crypto and stuff like that. And you haven't heard many stories of that recently, but there has been stories like that in the past where like some guy gets abducted, because he holds like a bunch of bitcoins and things like that, and so like put at ransom until they give people his private keys and stuff. um and I just think like that's one of the big reasons to do it is like just your own operational security, and you know making sure that you don't become a target for somebody, or especially if you piss somebody off on Twitter. um and the other thing I think about being like anon that's good for me, at least personally, is like I want to be who I am in real life, and not have like all my friends and everybody know that I'm in crypto and I started this project, and it's successful and I have money and things like that, because I don't want people in my real life to like change the way they treat me or look at me differently. So I like having that aspect of privacy as well.
I wrestle with both those things, and the security is big for me because, like, being in stocks and other stuff, I'm like, oh, nobody can really touch that. A lot of it's insured, and then you kind of start to grow a little bit of crypto, and it's not like I have a ton or anything, but I start to think about exactly what you said, security reasons and everything like that. So it's really interesting. It's something I wrestle with a little bit. Just jumping right into Alchemix, like, what is Alchemix? How can it be explained to the average user of Ethereum and DeFi?
Yeah, so Alchemix is a way for you to get your yield up front. So normally, like if you had you put like your DAI into like Aave or Yearn or another protocol that earns yield for you, let's say you get like 10%, you'd have to wait a whole year to get that 10%. Well, with Alchemix, you can basically get all of your interest now in exchange for locking up your collateral. And then the interest that your collateral earns, because we put it in Yearn, will then pay off the debt that you got for your advance, and that will happen over time. Right now, I think the repayment rate is a little bit over 3 years.
Yeah, it looks to be just right at 3 years right now, which is great. I mean, that's amazing. And then how is
Mhm.
Alchemix earning the yield for its users?
Yeah, so we get the users deposit DAI into Alchemix, and then that DAI then goes into Yearn. And Yearn uses a number of strategies. I think the vault that they have has 7 different strategies. I know that they farm compound, they farm rook, they farm curve, and I think they have a couple other strategies as well that they use. They farm these different tokens using DAI, um, and then they sell those tokens and they earn yield. They also do some general lending, like in Compound and Aave as well, like that, and supply liquidity to those markets. So, um, yeah, with all those things, that's how Yearn makes their yield, and then that gets passed off in the form of DAI, and then um, we harvest the yield that's earned from Yearn, and then we pass on those savings to our users, and we use that money to pay down their debts.
Makes sense. The Rodney has a good question in chat. Why did Alchemix choose DAI over USDC and Tether?
Well, we originally had planned to have like several different kind of like stable coins, and then sort of like a late change that we made to the protocol is to try to make it multi-collateral. But the first one we were always going to launch with was DAI. In fact, its old name was Al DAI. I think there's some like artifacts in some of our materials that mention Al DAI. Um, and so that's what we went with because it was ready. We also chose that one as well because DAI is a decentralized stablecoin. There's no, risk of, centralization risk of them blacklisting or anything like that. So we thought that DAI would be like the right choice to start it off with, as it's heavily aligned with DeFi and the values of Ethereum and stuff. But with version 2 of Alchemix, we're going to open up the collateral types quite a bit. Basically, any stablecoin that is viable that has an on-chain yield that's comparable to the other coins that we have, then it will basically be able to get on Alchemix
That's
and be
amazing.
able to be collateral for ALUSD.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So if someone doesn't take a loan, they're still going to earn like AL USD or let's say AL ETH.
Yeah,
What are the other collaterals are?
yeah. So we'll be launching Al ETH soon, TM. But yeah, if you deposit your DAI into Alchemix currently and you don't borrow any ALUSD, every time we harvest yield, you'll see that you'll have like a more borrowable ALUSD. Um, and all that stuff, like all that extra ALUSD that you can borrow, is a credit, so you could mint that without incurring any debt.
Okay. And what are like the potential worst case scenarios for somebody using Alchemix? Any potential downsides or
I
risk?
mean, this is DeFi, of course, so there's always smart contract risk. And that goes with Yearn as well. And but then also all the protocols that Yearn uses, like Compound and Curve and Rook and Aave and things like that. So all those places are, possible risks for using Alchemix. And there's all, of course, our smart contracts as well. Everything in our chain like is audited, including Alchemix. And we came back with a clean bill of health. No critical bugs were found in our contracts. So we're fairly confident, but we never know what can happen, especially with urine. Yield aggregators have been hacked in the past before. We are going to be launching insurance with Nexus Mutual sometime this week or next week. So that should give users some peace of mind if they want to purchase coverage for their positions.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And just like questions about the transmuter, I think like a few people get a little confused and like maybe use it too often. The transmuter is just kind of like a backstop for, Al ETH to die and keeping the peg, correct? And we don't necessarily want folks to have to use the transmuter.
Yeah, so the primary way to exchange your ALUSD to something else is to go to Curve. We have a very deep liquid pool there. Uh, Last time I checked, you could trade $5 million worth of ALUSD with no slippage. So that's pretty cool. So we encourage people to use Curve to exchange their ALUSD. And the transmitter is more so like if ALUSD has gotten off the peg, then they can guarantee that they can redeem LUSD for DAI 1-to-1. So it's more of a peg stability module. It's not a source for yield. There could be like some small profits from arbitraging, the peg and stuff like that, and definitely that happens. Some users do that, um, but for the most part, like you don't want to have your average user using the transmuter, unless there is, an arbitrage moment that you could have using it. Um, so if you're just like if AliUSD is like 1-to-1 with DAI and you're using the transmitter, it's actually kind of bad for Alchemix in a way, because the DAI in the transmitter that's backing the AliUSD also is earning yield on Yearn, and that yield gets passed to the depositors in the vault. So the more people that use the transmitter instead of the curve pools, the kind of worse it is for everyone. We didn't really anticipate a lot of these behaviors when we designed Alchemix version 1, but now that it's been out in the wild for a while, we have solutions that will address these things within version 2 of Alchemix.
That's awesome. That makes a lot of sense. And then, is there any way, like in version 2 or currently, like, does the transmuter build up as the protocol grows and people use it? If they or are not using the transmuter but are using the protocol in the vault, and like as harvests come in, is the transmuter building, or is that something that like should be less of an effect in the future as the protocol grows, like that boost?
Well, it's all about the ratio between how much the transmitter has versus the total amount of DAI deposited in the vaults.
Hmm.
If there is right now, there's around 150 million in the transmitter and 250 million in the vaults. And base urine APY is like 11%, but because we have that extra collateral, ours is around 16 to 17%. So if we had more in the transmuter relative to what was in the vault, then that APY would be higher.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was
yeah.
asking. If the transmuter grows as or the amount in there grows as the protocol's growing. Or if that's kind of
So
like a
it's
steady number from like the beginning of what was put in there when everybody was liquidating themselves.
So the transmuter, those funds are earmarked for conversion into DAI, and so there's like an ebb and flow of funds into and out of the transmuter. When ALUSD is at the peg or over the peg, I noticed that a lot of people repay their loans in DAI, or they liquidate their collateral, their DAI collateral, to repay their loan, because doing so at the time is more efficient than using ALUSD to repay their loans, because ALUSD is at a premium compared to DAI. And when that happens, when people are repaying their loans with DAI, the transmitter gets filled up a lot because all those repayments go into the transmitter. But on the flip side, when ALUSD is under the peg, more people are arbitraging the peg, or at least trying to arbitrage the price back to the peg, and they use the transmitter as a vehicle for doing this. At its height, the transmitter had something like 220 million DAI, and right now it's around 150 million DAI. We took a little hit when the market nuked a few weeks ago, and because of that, we lost some of the TVL of it and some of the extra boost. But overall, it's been holding well, and it's fulfilling its role of being that buy wall that protects the peg.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm really loving Alchemix to the point where I'm like, why should I ever have a savings account anymore? Not only are we, beating inflation over here with stable dollars, but the return is amazing. Like I have to explain it to my friends a few times because they're like 17%, 16%, like what's happening over here? They almost don't believe it at first, and I'm like, yeah,
They
shut.
weren't around for the 60% yields of DeFi summer, man. Like,
Oh, trying to show them the farms on Alchemix, and they're like, okay, you're getting scammed. I'm like, no, you have to understand how this all works. But like, it's great to start with Alchemix and like the vault. and just showing people, putting stable dollars in here, using it as a savings account. And I guess that kind of leads into like, what are some real world applications or like, things you can do using the Alchemix loans that you've seen?
I think you said it really well. It's primarily a savings technology, at least the way I look at it, because you're incentivized to save your money to use Alchemix because it requires over collateralization to borrow ALUSD. But at the same time, after you save and then you get your advance yield advance in ALUSD, then that gives you the ability to then consume. So like it encourages savings, but also promotes consumption at the same time. So I think that's a really cool dynamic because you already got that money saved up, and you know that debt that you just took on is going to be paid off eventually. That kind of gives you the freedom to use it for whatever you want to do. If that's like, personal finance in your own life, if you want to like remodel your house or buy a car or something like that, or if that's just like something for pure pleasure, like, you want to get a new gaming rig or go on vacation, or, go to a Bitcoin conference, you could, take out like a loan using Alchemix and, realize that eventually all this debt, all this money that you just, spent is, going to be paid off automatically for you over time. And I think that's really cool. Use cases also extend to, like longing the market and stuff like that. So you could take out an ALUSD loan and then long ETH or another coin that you want to, and speculate in the market that way. And then if you make a profit, you can sell it back to ALUSD, pay out your loan, and pocket the profit. So there's lots of things that people can do with it. Another common thing people do with ALUSD is they're liquidity providers at Curve, and that's important as well. And we incentivize that heavily at Alchemix because having that deep liquid peg makes the protocol a lot more useful for people.
Absolutely. And something interesting I heard in your other interviews with like Bankless, I love watching their content as well. Like you spoke on like DAOs building on top of Alchemix and charities using Alchemix. Like, can you speak on has that really come up with any other protocols? That was so interesting to me, and how a DAO might be able to use Alchemix for their treasury.
Yeah, that'll have to wait till version 2. Version 1 locks out smart contracts, so it unfortunately excludes multi-sigs and DAOs and other contracts and stuff like that right now. Did that as a security measure because, we just, felt like user funds were the most important thing when we launched, more so than composability. But yeah, we definitely see DAO treasuries, putting in their assets into Alchemix and then financing their day-to-day operations, using these advances on yield. Um, I think it's going to be a really powerful tool for a lot of them, for DAOs, also for charities as well. Because it's sort of like this regenerating fund that you can just continually, use to donate to different charities and stuff like that. I think that's really positive. Another idea is that people could join kind of like venture collectives and stuff like that, form like venture DAOs and use Alchemix. That everyone could post, collateral, and then the DAO could then borrow the AL assets and invest with those.
That makes a
So
lot of sense. And like, I just want to comment on the beginning there. Security and everything you guys have done has been amazing from a user standpoint. I love like all the governance proposals and how slow and like steady everybody's been with raising the debt cap. And when we were on the governance phone call, everybody was in agreement on taking it slow with Al ETH. And I just really want to thank you guys for definitely taking the time and securing, investor and user funds. That's something that's been big with me as I've watched the protocol grow for sure.
yeah, I mean, I've been in crypto for a while, and one thing I've noticed, more so than anything else, is that if a project has a good community, then it ends up being a good project, most of the time, and vice versa. And so we really try to respect the community and be as open and transparent as we can. There has been a couple governance proposals about like market makers and exchanges and things like that. And the nature of these deals means that like I have to, keep some of the details confidential, by request of the parties we're negotiating with. And it's frustrating because I want to tell everybody in the DAO everything and be completely transparent. But if I do, it would, kill the deal. So, I'm in that tricky spot. And I think DAOs in general are in that tricky spot because, um, if you want to do collective action, that doesn't really work when the business world still runs on backroom deals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand completely. And, I know it's a weird area that everybody's working through right now, and I think you guys have been more transparent than most of the protocols I'm in, and I think the Alchemix Discord is extremely active, and one of my favorite places to kind of hang out and learn and just see what's going on with Alchemix. So, and getting into that, like the Alchemix DAO and the ALCX token. Can you get into like the distribution, the rewards, and kind of what that token will be used for in the future?
Yeah, so we're still working on the DAO, and not everything is set in stone. There's two models that we are playing around with, and each one would have their own pros and cons. The first model would be that right now we have a 10% harvest fee that we take, where the 10% of the money that's harvested from Yearn gets sent to the DAO treasury at the moment. And the simple version of the Alchemix DAO is, instead of all of that going to the developer's treasury, that would go to the ALCX stakers in the DAO, in addition to any ALCX rewards that they would also get. So that would mean they would get yield in the form of like DAI, and any of the other stable coins that are backing ALUSD. Same thing with ETH and any other like versions of ETH backing ALETH, and same thing for eventually when we have ALBTC out. So all of those fees would go to the ALCX holders in the DAO. Whether we use those to do like a buyback of ALCX and then reward it that way, or if we just straight up give you the base tokens that are profit, we haven't decided. That would be the simple model. But I think a cooler model, even though it might be a little bit harder to bootstrap, is if the DAO itself um, enters into Alchemix and then uses the yield from its principal to pay the ALCX stakers a dividend on top.
Well,
Right now, the DAO has around like close to $4 million in assets that are not ALCX tokens. If we want it to be as capital efficient as just the 10% harvest fee, we need to get the DAO's TVL up to probably around 30 million, I would say, 30 to 40 million total locked in there as principal, to get to be a similar amount of profit. Um, but then the cool thing is if we could actually get the funds raised, for that, whether that's through the DAO selling some of its tokens or, just natural growth. The cool thing is that it will snowball. So that 10% harvest fee will then go to the DAO, and then that'll grow its principal. But also the DAO is also getting a 10% harvest fee that's also replenishing the DAO itself. So it would snowball on two different fronts. And I think that it might make yields more sustainable long term. I'm thinking like beyond a few years, like very long term. I think it would be the better strategy to use with the DAO. So we're still having debate about which model is best, which one would be better to do, and if we decide to go with the second model, how would we go about raising funds for the DAO and stuff like that in a way that's not, doesn't, cause too much downward pressure on ALCX. So we're working through a lot of these things.
that makes a lot of sense. And like that's kind of where I was going a little bit earlier. Like even part of that 10% collected going into the transmuter, or like you're saying, going into the treasury, which is then used in the application itself and could help boost rewards, I'm all down for. I'm also really interested in just receiving like all the base tokens as like a trickle, whatever that may be.
So if we do the second version, you would receive your yield in the form of ALUSD, ALETH, and ALBTC, and any other AL tokens we have.
That would be, that
That's you
sounds
would
amazing.
Yeah, so that yeah, because you know how if you don't have anything any debt in the transmuter, then if there's a harvest, then you're allowed to, you have a credit assigned to you as well. So essentially what we would do is not take out any debt in the DAO itself, and then just award people the credits that are there.
That sounds amazing. That is something I'm definitely
Yeah.
interested in. I'm sure a lot of the users of Alchemix and listeners would be definitely interested in that. Asa dude in the chat said, "Will you? Do you guys have any layer two options?" And I know you get asked this a lot. Any layer two
Oh,
options?
the DAO itself is definitely going to be built on layer two. There will be a bridge that'll communicate back to the contracts on layer one. So we'll have that message bridge there. So like whenever the DAO decides to change some parameters, then that it'll take a little while for to go from layer two to back to layer one, but then those changes will take place.
Awesome.
um, we were definitely thinking about the users for having a DAO, because like we're using Snapshot right now and a multi-sig, and that's like the MVP like of a DAO, like the bare minimum you can do to be a quote unquote DAO. And I think honestly, as a technologist, it's kind of like it's a very temporary solution. But at the same time, having like a full on-chain DAO on the Ethereum mainnet is, right now the gas is cheap, but it's not going to be like this for a long time. It's going to get expensive again. And I just think it's unreasonable to ask somebody to pay 30, 40, $50 to vote on something. And if that was like, 10 cents, 20 cents on a layer two, then that becomes a non-issue.
Absolutely.
Um, and that's important because we wanted to have a very active and lively governance or DAO and application for it. And so we're trying to gamify it in a number of ways. One is that when you deposit your ALCX into the DAO, you'll begin earning a resource called Materia Points. And Materia Points can be used to boost your voting weight in the DAO for a particular vote, and these accrue on a daily basis. So, like, let's say there's like a proposal, that's very contentious. Maybe it's like a close to a 50-50 split, and you feel strongly one way or the other. You can increase the weight of your vote by consuming these materia points. And that gives you a little bit extra weight, so you can use some of that time value you've had for being in the DAO for longer than others to influence a vote and gain more power in the DAO for things that you care about. Um, and in doing so, when you vote and you participate in governance in the Alchemix DAO, it will boost your reward weight in the system. So basically, you will get more rewards from the rewarder contract in the DAO. So if you're active, you're going to end up making more money than if somebody is passive in the DAO and doesn't do anything.
I love that. It's like incentivized to participate in everything, and the community is already so active. But I love that as it grows, people will be incentivized, and it won't be a ghost town.
Yeah, but wait, there's more.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
So the next layer of the design of the DAO is that these materia points can be converted into something called a materia shard. Um, and materia shards cannot be used to boost your voting weight, but they can be used in the DAO item shop. So you're gonna have like your own character in the DAO, like or an avatar, and you're going to be able to equip it with items like shirts and maybe hats and things like that, apparel items. um, and some of these items will you can pay for all these items using materia shards, and some of them will offer like boosts for your reward weight and things like that, and maybe some other perks here and there as well. um, so that will kind of make a little mini game and a little mini economy out of the DAO in this item shop for it. And that'll be an ERC20 token. So that'll be tradable. So some people will elect to convert their materia points into shards and then sell them for a little extra yield. Other people will try to maximize their yield by, decking out their character. And other people will probably prefer to not go into the item shop and prefer to bank all of their materia points so they can, have more influence over the DAO. So there'll be something there for everyone.
That sounds amazing, and I've never been one to like buy skins in video games or anything like that, but I'm so excited for that. I'm almost like, why Al ETH? When do we get to the DAO? But you guys
Yeah,
have a lot on your plate. Al ETH
yeah. The
coming
DAO
soon.
The DAO has a number of stuff already done in the development process. Like we have the reward system, basically all coded and all hooked in, and we have the DAO governance hooked in. Oh, and there's one more thing about the DAO that I forgot, and that is in return for getting these dividends, from the protocol. There's a catch, and the catch is that if there is like a protocol hack or something happens and there's like a loss of user funds, then the ALCX stakers in the DAO will be on the hook and they can get slashed up to a certain percentage of their holdings. We haven't determined exactly how much. And then that ALCX will be then sold off at auction to make the protocol whole. So there is that one catch that goes along with being a participant in the DAO. I feel like if you're staking, if there's a proof of stake, kind of system going on in this, then you need to have something at stake.
Yeah, that's fair. Have some risk in the protocol that you're backing and using if you want to be a part of governance and everything like that. You should also be backing a little bit of the risk for the other users.
Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that's essentially the main feature sets of the DAO. There's still like little details that need to be worked out. We might add some more features here and there, but that's the general vision for the DAO. We're trying to take care of the freeloader problem, trying to take care of the apathy problem, and just trying to do something different in governance.
It makes a lot of sense, and you can tell you guys have been head down working really, really hard on all this. What is like any future timeline of releases you can kind of give out and, not holding you to the
Yeah.
fire, but just kind of what you see?
So we just started with the auditors runtime verification. They're a really top tier auditing firm, audited ETH2 and stuff like that, and some other high profile contracts and protocols. And we just started with them, and they're auditing our version 2, which is nearly code and feature complete at the moment. And we are expecting or hoping that all the audits will clear and be ready or be finished sometime in August, which will allow us to launch in August. But again, we're not going to launch until it's ready. So if we have to get delayed, we have to get delayed, and that's that. Unfortunate as it is. This is DeFi. This is people's money. This is their life savings. This is their everything. We have to make sure that everything is okay.
Absolutely, and I love the slow and, just very concise response and like time you guys have taken releasing everything. I mean, I'm totally okay with the delays we've had and everything's been moving really well. I kind of want to ask a little bit more about the farms and everything.
Hmm.
I love working that you guys have migrated and we're now earning ALCX and sushi, and with ALUSD everybody's getting a little bit of curve and stuff like that. Are there more partnerships like that coming in the future? And what do you see the future of like the farms? Will it just go to like a governance farm or?
So we're going to be launching AlEth, and they'll have a new farming pool as well. And we've been talking to a few other protocols about launching some new liquidity pools involving ALCX, or not ALCX, but ALUSD. So I don't want to spill the beans just yet on those. We still haven't hammered out all of the details, but I think it's going to be pretty good, pretty exciting stuff. And we're also going to be doing an experiment with an up and coming protocol that's not out just yet, but they're very promising. And they're an alternative to providing liquidity in DeFi. And I'm excited to experiment with their protocol, and we'll probably I'll make a proposal for us to allocate some of our farming rewards to this experimental pool and stuff like that to see how it goes. But if it goes really, really well, we might end up using them and replacing our farms, with this new protocol instead,
That
which
sounds
shall not be named. but
That
it's really cool.
that sounds amazing. Any comment? This is a question from chat. Do you have any comments on the Abracadabra Money project?
Oh, I think it's pretty cool. They're going to be accepting ALUSD curve, like the vault tokens from Yearn as collateral to mint their own stablecoin. So that gives you something new and extra to do with your ALUSD. So we're excited with that, and we're also talking to them about doing the same thing with our eventual ALETH LP tokens as well, or a vault for them. And I'm actually pretty friendly with the founder of Abracadabra, and we've been talking a lot recently. So definitely good vibes from that project, and look forward to both of us benefiting each other.
Absolutely, that's awesome. And yeah, I love all there's been so many protocols that have come together with Alchemix, with Pickle and Sushi and Curve. I love the growth and how quickly it's come. You guys are putting together so much so fast. Um, it's amazing to watch. It really is.
Or yeah, we're heads down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys definitely are. Any other future alpha you can give us? Anything from chat? Any questions out of chat or anything like that?
Oh, sorry, I haven't been on Twitch this whole time.
Oh no, you're fine. I'm watching. I'm just asking them.
Oh, from the chat.
Yeah,
Any other alpha? I mean, we're planning to launch AlETH this week. There's a few moving parts that may affect the launch date. Um, but if um, yeah, if everything looks good, we'll probably try to launch it. Yeah, by the end of the week.
that's awesome. And best place for people to keep up with Alchemix, what's going on, Twitter, Discord, are all the best places.
Yeah, I mean, Discord is definitely the best place. That's where the action, the discussion is happening. You can also follow us on Twitter, alchemix.fi. That any announcements that we make in the Discord will also be made on Twitter. Um, yeah, and feel free to visit our website at app.alchemix.fi and
But
join the growing wave of alchemy.
absolutely. I'm really excited for Al ETH. No more using my base ETH that I purchased for gas. I will be borrowing and using Al ETH, so my initial investment is never spent again. So I'm really excited for that and the Al BTC and
Yeah.
just kind of growing with Alchemix, and it seems amazing. I'm excited for the DAO and everything coming for layer 2. You think layer 2 stuff and or like the DAO will be coming out here like in the next, quarter or two or something like that?
Yeah, DAO will be after V2 is out. V2 is further along than the DAO is currently, and also the DAO is going to be built on top of V2. So it's going to, definitely be a little bit later. We're definitely trying to get it out. I think fall is our target right now. At the very latest, it would be by the end of the year.
Nunchi had a good question in chat. Are you guys looking for developers and people to work with Alchemix? And what are you guys looking for? How can people help? And what skills are you looking for?
Right now, we are primarily looking for Solidity developers, preferably somebody with already a lot of experience and skills with Solidity. And also, any Svelte developers for the front end. That's going to be our stack for our version 2 and all of our future sites. So those are positions that we're trying to look around, and we have some leads already. But if anybody's listening here that is really good at Solidity or Svelte and wants to work on Alchemix, then shoot me or the other devs a DM, and we can get the conversation started.
Do you have any plans to launch mobile apps or anything like that?
We've talked about it briefly to have a dedicated mobile version, web app, not like an actual app, like for Alchemix version 2. Because right now the version 1 just has some really basic responsiveness built into it, but not like a whole dedicated UI for smartphones. but that's in the cards eventually for version 2.
Absolutely. And I'll lightheartedly say we're always looking for great meme makers in the Discord and having fun over there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like anybody makes any really quality stuff, like typically I'll toss a little tip your way, whether that's LUSD or ALCX. I'm usually pretty loaded on Discord, so yeah, don't be a stranger.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with like just the community made memes and stuff like that. It's just a great community. It's top my top communities to be in on Discord, and I really enjoy. And thank you guys for what you built. And we've used up pretty much the whole hour here. Do you think? Here's another good question. Pito Z. Do you think ALCX price is correlated to the TLV of the protocol?
Um, I think that's a tricky one. So the price of ALCX, I think, depends on a number of things. I think largely, most broadly, it depends on the overall market sentiment and how positive the market is feeling about DeFi coins, especially. When there was like a little mini like DeFi bull market in March, Alchemix was doing very, very well against the price of Ether, or but then after ETH rallied and DeFi cooled off, then ALCX cooled off along with the rest of DeFi, and its ETH ratio, also went down accordingly with basically the rest of DeFi as well. We're basically in line with everyone else. So that's a big part of it. The other part is that we have an aggressive emission schedule, and so like we're awarding um, over $10 million worth of Alchemix weekly. So that's going to have an impact on the market as well. If you've been farming in the pools, then this dilution, especially if you've been compounding your farming, this dilution will not matter. And especially if you've been in Alchemix for a long time, you should be fine. Even if you bought near the top, as long as you've been compounding, you should be doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And as those emissions go down, it's weekly. And then is there like a
Mhm.
cap? Is there a cap to ALCX in the future?
No, there's never a strict hard cap, but
Hmm.
after 3 years, emissions are very low, and they'll just be flat at that point, and it'll be something like 4 to 3%, 3 to 4% inflation a year of
Yeah,
ALCX.
very
So
re-
something very reasonable, enough for us to keep our farms incentivized,
makes a
so we can do that. And also if we ever want to launch any more assets in the future down the line, having tokens that we can get from emissions will definitely help bootstrap anything.
absolutely makes a lot of sense. And I really want to appreciate you for the time here as we've wrapped up an hour. Anything else you think we missed? Any questions you have for myself or anything like that?
um no, not really. I mean, I've really had a good time on your podcast. I'm really grateful that you're an active community member and a positive force in our Discord. I'm really happy to be on this podcast with you, and these are really good questions from the audience. I think I have time for one or two more before it's going to be bedtime for me or thereabouts.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and at the end of your day, wherever it may be. And it's awesome. I guess ALCX soon is in chat here. Alchemix on BSC one day. I don't know about that one. Chat says.
I mean, if there's a governance proposal and it passes saying get Alchemix on BSC, then we'll respect what the community has to say about that. But our developers are more Ethereum aligned, and I think at least me personally, I'm more interested in layer two technology like optimistic and ZK rollups than I am side chains.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I could always
Yeah.
ask your thoughts on Cardano.
I mean, when it has like smart contracts and it's had an ecosystem and it's been alive for a while, and then I'll change my mind if I see that it's a healthy, vibrant ecosystem. Until then, it's just like all the other ETH killers, just vaporware.
I had to troll with that one at the end, brother. I really
Yes.
appreciate it, man. It's been a great podcast, and I think this is going to be super informative for everybody that watches it. It's going to go up on YouTube, and it's actually one of my most viewed live guest streams we've done to date. We've got 72 viewers here live. Brunelin says good talk, so
Got 69 now. Nice.
nice. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, man, it was fun. We should do it again after V2 is out.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, and we'll definitely be in touch. And you'll see me in the Discord, and I put all the links in the chat here today, and they'll all be attached to the YouTube and everything like that as it goes out.
All right, that's awesome, man.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Scoopy. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the YouTube videos. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, comment down below, help us out in the YouTube algorithms. And we're live 5 days a week on Twitch, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. EST. Come check us out. Thanks for watching.